I think the Vikings need help in their secondary. My top corner in the draft is going to be Terrion Arnold from Alabama, at least at this point, as I'm kind of diving into these guys. So I like Terrion Arnold to the Vikings there, and Bama's got a couple of defenders taken in the top 11. So that's Turner off the board, that's Arnold off the board, and again, like, there's good corners in this draft as well. There's going to be a few of them in this first round mock that I give you. But now we get to the Broncos. You could argue that this is maybe where the draft starts, because we know there's going to be quarterbacks taken up high. Denver may, although they don't have a lot of ammunition to do so, want to jump up. If one of these evaluations, like if all of a sudden Sean Payton just falls in love with Jaden Daniels or Drake May and it's just like, I got to have it, they may try to package something, but Denver doesn't have a second-round pick. They have to get a quarterback. The Russell Wilson deal, it just didn't work out. It didn't work out. And they're going to be losing so much money on that from a cap hit perspective. They've got to get cheap at that position. To me, Denver's going quarterback. And they have to. They have to. They don't have the guy. And this was a team, by the way, that was hot and almost got themselves back into the playoffs. Think about that. The marriage between Sean Payton and Russell Wilson did not work, okay? Russell Wilson, stylistically, is just not the type of player that Sean Payton is going to have success with. Sean Payton wants to have a guy that's basically a point guard on the field, because what Sean likes to do is call a lot of what I would call like scat protections in big moments where he's only going to protect with 5 up front and then 5 free releases, and he's counting on the quarterback to, one, protect himself with his feet and then get the ball out on time to the correct spot. This is what Drew was so great at. He was so great. He was a tactician and a point guard in so many different ways. Now, he was accurate with the football as well. I mean, Drew's a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt. And it's hard to replicate that. But this might be a little high for this guy. But the guy that I think fits best in that mold as an experienced, smart, point guard style, accurate passer, ball in the right spot, at the right moment is Bo Nix from Oregon. So I like Bo Nix to Denver at 12. Now, are they going to stay at 12? Do they need to move up? I'm not sure. Maybe they can move back a little bit and get Bo Nix. But without a second-round draft pick, they've got to address that now. Okay? I think a lot of these quarterbacks that we value highly are going to get selected in the first round. It's a great quarterback draft. We may rival that 1983 draft. Hopefully in performance, from a longevity standpoint, but certainly just in terms of quantity of players taken in the first round in one draft. Nix at 12 makes so much sense to me for Denver because of the fit of his style, what his strengths are, and what Sean Payton wants out of the quarterback. Russell Wilson wants to hold the ball, dance, figure things out, and create. That's not how Sean runs. That's why you saw this. It was like oil and water in a lot of respects. The way that they were operating on third downs, you would see, and I'm a Bronco fan. I grew up in Denver, so I would watch all of those games. And on third down, you could tell they were running scat protection. You would see a free release out of the backfield. You would see a bullet release from a weak side, kind of a fullback H-back, not protecting, not even chipping, not even checking in protection. He's just out on a little bullet release. And then like Russell Wilson would be holding the ball and there would be a blitz. And you could see Sean Payton and he was like, what are you doing? Okay, so the marriage philosophically didn't work. I think it would work a lot better with Bo Nix. And so I got Bo Nix at 12 there to the Broncos. At number 13, it's the Raiders. I think they need help up front. I do think they need to get more physical. Offensive tackle from Oregon State, Taliese Fuaga. I like Fuaga a lot. Not many people got to see him a ton, but he was terrific for Jonathan Smith. The last couple of years, Oregon State was a really good running team, and in large part due to Fuaga. He was one of the best offensive linemen in the country, and I like that pick there to the Las Vegas Raiders. Saints up at 14. Saints need help on the edge. We're getting now to my second-rated edge player. That's Jared Verse from Florida State. Verse is a really good athletic player. I like him a lot. I could see him with double-digit sacks early in his career, so I've got Verse to the Saints. The Colts need help on their defense, in particular in the secondary. There's a guy that I don't think a lot of people know, but if you were able to watch, college football at depth, you would know the name Quinyon Mitchell. And Mitchell, a player that played at Toledo, he's long. He's got good speed. He's fluid. And so Mitchell is a guy that I think could be an under-the-radar riser in the first round. And maybe, the Colts look at that secondary and they want to bolster things up. And then we get to the Seahawks. Oh, the interest with the 16th pick. And I do think that this is interesting in large part due to the fact that they've got a new coaching staff. This is not Pete Carroll anymore. And now they've got this young guy, Mike Macdonald, who is a defensive-oriented coach. Now, Pete was as well, so this is not a huge departure from what they've been. But Mike Macdonald coached under John Harbaugh, then Jim Harbaugh, then John Harbaugh again. What do you think he's going to be trying to build? The Raven, Michigan way. That's going to be a great defense, hard edges, run stuffer in the middle, good hybrid players in the secondary, and then on offense, an offense that can ground and pound, and then have a quarterback that can create. In order to play at the top end with this philosophy, you have to have a quarterback that can create. You just have to. This is why Baltimore is succeeding, although they didn't get to the Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. This is why Michigan ultimately got over the hump and won the national championship, is because they had a quarterback that could raise the level of their offense. All things being equal, when you couldn't just overpower the opposition, they had a quarterback that could do what? Complete it on fourth down against Alabama. Go get a first down when he needed to in several different games, but namely in, the Ohio State game, big games. Nobody in this draft outside of Jim Harbaugh is going to know J.J. McCarthy as well as Mike Macdonald, who was the coordinator at Michigan when J.J. McCarthy was a freshman at Michigan. Now, he wasn't the full-time starter, remember. Caden McNamara was the full-time starter that year, but J.J. got sprinkled in there. And even then, trust me, I called a lot of their games. Everybody knew that this guy was the future. Now, you also look at the way that he played over the last 2 years, his record at Michigan, his talent, which will jump off the tape. Even though he didn't throw the ball like Michael Penix did all over the yard, or like Caleb Williams did, or like Drake May did all over the yard, or even Jaden Daniels, this guy played a great complementary style to the philosophy that Michigan wanted to run. I think that's going to be really attractive to Mike Macdonald. Now, here's what's interesting about this is that now Ryan Grubb is the new offensive coordinator for Mike Macdonald, so he's going to leave the DeBoer tree. He was the coordinator for the Washington Huskies. He was going to follow Kalen DeBoer down to Alabama to be the coordinator. Now he leaves and goes back to Seattle, this time as the Seahawks offensive coordinator. So there's going to be a lot of people that are like, well, the Michael Penix fit is just going to fit too much. But this is still Mike Macdonald's call. Mike Macdonald, the head coach, is not going to want to play offense necessarily like Washington did. They're not going to try to throw it all over the lot. I just don't think that that's the case. Mike's going to be trying to put the philosophy and the organizational structure in place just like Michigan and just like Baltimore. What better quarterback to do that than the guy that just succeeded at the highest end, went 15-0 last year, won a national championship, J.J. McCarthy. I like J.J. McCarthy to the Seahawks. Gosh, that would be great. That would be great. And the draft would be on fire in Detroit. I mean, I would love it. And by the way, JJ is a lot more, he's more NFL ready than you think. Okay. People are going to be like, well, he didn't do anything. Look at his numbers. He doesn't drop back and throw. He does drop back and throw, not to the quantity or volume that some of the other players do in this draft. But man, if you see some of his throws in straight drop back, you're going to be like, yep, there it is. There it is. Like the touchdown that he threw against Ohio State. That was an incredible touchdown, right over the middle. He sees the back of the defender, threads the needle. I mean, Roman Wilson was not open. And yet he was open because of the throw. Let's just put it that way. All right, Jags. I think the Jaguars need help in the defensive secondary. I like Nate Wiggins of Clemson. So Nate Wiggins, gets his name called by the Jaguars. The Bengals need offensive line help. I think this is the start of the run on tackles. I think there's going to be a few right here kind of in the back middle of the first round. I like J.C. Latham out of Bama. He was a right tackle at Bama. You got to protect Joe Burrow. They've had a lot of, not just like issues, but they've had a lot of things like they need to solidify their offensive line. So I like Latham. They're the Bengals. Rams, similarly, I think offensive line makes a lot of sense. You're not going to get that many years with Matt Stafford, so guess what? You better protect him. How about Amarius Mims from Georgia? He played right tackle at Georgia. I think he could step in and play for the Rams. The Steelers, similarly, I think they need to go offensive line. Watch for Tyler Guyton. He played right tackle at OU, so Tyler Guyton is a guy that I could see go. And as we always know, and I love doing this in my mock drafts, when we get to Thursday night of the draft in Detroit, we know that there's going to be a run on a position group, right? All of a sudden it starts to happen. Now, there's generally trades that end up coming in there because some team realizes like, okay, here comes the run on that position, whether it's going to be the wide receivers or the tackles. I think there's going to be a run on offensive tackles at some point in the first round. And I've got it right here in the middle of the first, 18, 19, and 20.
Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. And you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.